If I have a kid, or if my niece or nephew come up to me and they be like, oh, I want to do EMS, I don't want to steer them away from it because of not being taken care of properly. There needs to be a little more than an 18-year-old going out on the street straight out of high school off a certification course, and then he's being thrown onto a truck and saying, hey, this guy has a knife in his hand, he's trying to hurt people or himself.
Please put the knife down.
How are you going to talk to him to get him to stop and bring him to the hospital safely, where he doesn't get hurt, cops don't get hurt, civilians don't get hurt, you don't get hurt, your partner doesn't get hurt? It got me a lot of praise over there. It was hard. I was the only medic for the base, essentially, because the Special Forces medics kind of did their own thing. They had their own mission set. So whenever someone got hurt, they were looking for me. Tactical combat casualty care, and we carry that over into the civilian sector. So now in the world of evidence-based medicine, where most of your evidence is coming from the military, very specific personality to come into work every day and it not be about you.
Hold on. Let me see the baby.
EMS providers don't get paid enough to do what they do. Our call volume now is around 6,000 a day, which is, that's some places yearly. A big argument back to EMS providers is, well, you don't have the education for it. It's going to be hard to beat that as my top accomplishment for 9 months. When it's time to work, it's time to work, and when it's time to play, we can play. So I became an EMT in 2017. I got a job at Senior Care, did transport for about a year, then went into logistics at 911, stayed at Senior Care for probably the next 5 years. At the same time, a year after I got my EMT, I joined the military, Army National Guard, as 68 Whiskey, which is a combat medic. I ended up getting deployed in 2022 to 2023 in Somalia, which was cool as a combat deployment. I got to do my job, got to practice the military medicine, which is, the scope of practice is just unlimited, essentially. Whatever you learn, you learn. And then I got back. I got hired here a little before I left for that deployment. So around 2021, I deployed, came back, left Senior Care, came to Mount Sinai. Now I'm here. I do a lot of things here. I just got back from Africa again. I just went for 2 weeks this time. I went to Morocco. Got to train some Marines, some partner forces over there again too. Never stop learning, I'd say. That one for sure. It just never ends. So, yeah. Oh, my favorite part about teaching here is that all the instructors are so, not even just like me, just the rest of the instructors are just so in tune and motivated with being in the field that they want to teach. And because they want to teach, they want that information to go over there. And when I went to school, the information was not presented to me in the way it is these days, stuff like that. Over there, it's just make an EMT. Once they pass, it's done. Over here, we really want them to reach a certain level where they know when they come out of here that they're a certain level of comfortability in their skills. When I got out of EMT school, I didn't know what I was doing. That's the environment here that I love. She just keeps it going. Megan just keeps it going. I first wanted to become a architect and then an engineer. I was like 16, 17. And then I realized that I didn't want to sit at a desk all day and I'd lose my mind. And then I was just like researching a bunch of things. I found EMT and I thought to myself, I was like, no, like, I guess it'd be like cool to like know medical stuff. And like, that's literally what it was. I just thought I was going to go like work on an ambulance. I'm like, yeah, cool, like 6 month certification course, like it's easy, whatever. And then I did it. And then once I got into it, I loved it. I love the feeling it gives, the different day, every single day, every hour. 1 minute it's calm, 1 minute it's not. A lot of variety. So that really just, it makes me happy. And then like, you have your good moments every now and then. So I think it's one of the most rewarding jobs that you can ever get. Like, you, especially in New York City where you have like a large demographic of people from all over the world, you get exposed to so many cultures and so many different kinds of people, whether it be poor or rich, white, black, Asian, like it doesn't matter. Most of the time I'm their worst day, or a mild day for you, but it's their worst day. And at the end of the day, you get to change these people's lives, even depending on how you talk to them. If you just talk to someone nicely, it might have made their horrible experience, it might have made their experience just that much more bearable. And the impact that you can have on different people all the time. And it's a lot of reading. Like, I use the Muru app like a lot. It's been very useful. Sometimes like I have like a long car drive, and like I'll sit in the car and I'll just like run through like weird scenarios that like I haven't seen in a bit. Like I did this the other day. I was coming back from my military stuff and I was like, you know what, I haven't touched up on a lot. Like, especially because like the weather's kind of changing, like it's getting hotter, and I was like, I think I should brush up on like heat strokes and stuff like that. Because like, we just did winter. Like, I looked up winter stuff before, winter injuries. But like now I should do like some heat management stuff, see if anything changed. And I don't know. I guess like with every season I just like read up a little bit more, and then like anything that comes up to me randomly, I just take like a mental note. And like, especially with the app, it's just so easy. You type in like whatever protocol or injury you want and it'll just pop it up right there. So like, it's just like the little bits of reading here and there, but it's also like self-interest on my side. Like, I don't sit there and read the whole entire protocol book, but like I'll definitely sit and think like, what don't I really know right now, because I haven't seen it in a while and stuff like that, because everything changes. And it's a lot of information. No one knows everything, but the expectation is for us to know as much as possible. I'd say the military. It's just, not only has being a military medic made me a better EMT, but just a general medical provider as a whole. It's kept me fit, in shape. It's given me the mental fortitude to deal with a lot of things. It's opened my eyes to a lot of stuff. Like I said, I was in Somalia. Being exposed to a lot of different things and having that higher scope of practice under me let me have a better fundamental understanding of, the EMT side. And I just have a lot of big accomplishments in the military that were practically shouldn't have been possible, and like I just made them possible. When I was deployed to Somalia, I was put in a very unique position. I was on a very small forward operating base with special forces guys. But there was also a lot of civilian contractors there, and I had the numbers varied, my 40 to 60 dudes that I was taking care of. And even though my sole responsibility was my 40 to 60 infantrymen that I had to take care of, I also had to take care of the rest of the base, I've trained partner forces on basic medicine because they don't have schools available to them like that. Their medicine is not up to date like ours is. So, like, I've taught the Somalis and the Kenyans how to take care of the casualties in case something happens, because they were also at our checkpoints. So if something happens to them, we wanted them to be prepared. So, like, even the infantry guys would train them their infantry things, and then I would train them their medical stuff. I was also left without a provider for like a couple months, so I was kind of like lone wolfing it a little bit, which was interesting, and it got me a lot of praise over there. And it was hard. I was the only medic for the base, essentially, because the special forces medics kind of did their own thing. You know, they had their own mission set. So whenever someone got hurt, they were looking for me. I just had a lot of exposure, and I got put in a unique position. It's gonna be hard to beat that as like my top accomplishment for like 9 months. It's very isolated too. Yeah, I mean, it depends what you're looking for. I wouldn't necessarily say that it should be veteran specific. I think it's personality specific. I think you have to have a certain kind of personality to deal with the things that EMS deals with. Has the military helped me in that? Absolutely. I just knew I've always wanted to do this. And of course, I've had times where I had to learn to be a better provider because I wasn't always good at certain situations. You know, we learn through our mistakes, but we are making a bridge program here for 68 Whiskeys and corpsmen, Navy corpsmen, to come here, get their state, and then be placed in advanced standing for the paramedic program, so that they would just challenge out of their skills, and they would, you know, do some tests so that they wouldn't have to go to the lectures for skills that they already know from the military. So we are working on that, so to make it easier for them to transition from the military life to the civilian life. They could come here and have an accelerated role in getting a job in EMS if they came from a medical service from the military. I think they appreciate how lax I tend to be. I don't like the whole intensity thing, especially coming from the military, like, you know, but I believe when it's time to work, it's time to work, and when it's time to play, we can play. We can definitely do both at the same time, but as long as we're learning, and I like using that as my best tool to get them to associate, you know, fun with learning, so that if they're having a good time, they're going to remember what I'm telling them. I think most importantly, I let them make their mistakes so that we could all learn from it. Because even from brand new students, I can learn from them too. I think it's kind of like a military cliche thing, but like complacency. It's very easy to become like complacent, especially when like 90% on call type, we wouldn't consider them real emergencies for ourselves. And complacency, not doing your due diligence, and like, you know, let me get my full set of vitals, let me, you know, ask more in-depth questions, or just brushing people off because you're not in the mood, you're having a bad day. You know, like I said, it's a very specific personality to like come into work every day and it not be about you, because that's what this job is. It's the feelings about the other person, and no matter whether they're being nice or mean to you or they want to hurt you, it's not personal. It's about them at that time. And I think that is the biggest takeaway I can get from that. Usually the military thing surprises people because I like to be like lax and, you know, calm and cool, even in stressful environments. I think EMS as a whole is growing, and especially in recent events between COVID and all the hundreds of other things that are happening, like mass shootings and assaults on EMS providers going up and pandemics. It's growing to a point where EMTs are needed more. Like our call volume now is around 6,000 a day, which is, that's some places like yearly, and we hit that in a day. So there's a demand and there's a need for it, and the roles have only expanded even since when I got in 7 years ago, which is not that long. I didn't have BGLs when I first started. I didn't have check and inject when I first started. I didn't have CPAP when I first started. They're adding things to the scope of practice, which just means that we need better providers. And I think in the way that's evolving, there's definitely conversations going about, the degree, and especially this school having a degree program for paramedic, being an associate is a step in a positive direction. The famous Spider-Man quote, with great power comes great responsibility. So, we're doing more than just trauma at this point. Like, we're giving medications, we're doing interventions that have the possibility to harm someone without the medications to fix it, right? So we do have to be smarter about our uses, and especially with our volume of EDPs that are coming out, and especially here in New York City, the amount of times that we encounter them, there needs to be a little more than an 18-year-old going out on the street straight out of high school off a certification course, and then he's being thrown onto a truck and saying, hey, this guy has a knife in his hand, he's trying to hurt people or himself. How are you going to talk to him to get him to stop and bring him to the hospital safely, where he doesn't get hurt, cops don't get hurt, civilians don't get hurt, you don't get hurt, your partner doesn't get hurt? Extending this into a degree with classes that enhance specific skill sets, like de-escalation tactics, psychological understanding of people and how they work, is a step in the right direction for degree programs. I think it's important in legitimizing what we do and who we are. From my understanding, the very big issue, and me knowing so, EMS providers don't get paid enough to do what they do. Paramedics have arguably a larger scope of practice than nurses and have to work in a more hostile environment and don't get paid the same. A big argument back to EMS providers is, well, you don't have the education for it. So solutions just bring the education forward on it so that we could pay our EMS providers and stop having this shortage in a city that has 6,000 calls a day. Compassion, understanding, and mental fortitude. Like I said, it's very hard to go to a job where it's not about you. Some jobs you go in and it's about your task that you were given. Do this assignment by this time, and that's it, you're done for the day. There's no real responsibility for human life. And those aren't the only 3 traits. If you have a flexible personality that can bend with people that you encounter, I think you just have a better chance of succeeding and going through difficult times instead of being rigid. And sometimes it's just not our place to dictate what people want to do, which is fine. Ain't no times for. If someone doesn't want to go to a hospital, then sometimes they just, it's within their right. Sometimes, we make it personal. We're like, hey, you can be hurt and stuff like that, and no matter how much you try, they just don't want to. And I think understanding our limits in that is important. The psychological aspect, understanding just how humans behave and process things, especially emotions, not only just for yourself, but for your patients. I know while I was deployed, I read a lot of books on psychology. There was a psychologist there for a little bit, and I asked him on some books and like human behavior and stuff like that. And honestly, I came back and I started doing some things that I read about, and it helped me process stuff over there at the same time because it was very isolated. So I wasn't processing my emotions properly. So I learned to process my emotions that I was dealing with over there. So I would say the psychological skill trait would be a nice attribute to have. I personally, not that I necessarily love EDP calls, like obviously I'm not happy that they're always happening, but I think I excel in them. And I tell the students too is with EDPs, I don't think it's not about you or what you want to do. You want to take them to the hospital, sure, but the EDP wants something else. So it's up to you to find what they want, which is what I found. Find what they want and somehow bridge that with them being brought to the hospital. Now that Megan walked in, probably this place. No, no, honestly though, I think ever since I got out of EMT school, like literally like the next day, I was like, I want to teach this stuff because honestly, I felt kind of failed. Man, like this needs to be better. 5-6 years later, someone was somehow magically felt tempted to hire me, and now I'm doing it. Now it's more than just me. I get to put my perspective on the next generation, the new blood. Hopefully they can take that and then take it even further than I ever could. That's probably my best accomplishment that I could ever ask for. This is the dream job for me. I'm here all the time. Which one? I have so many. The legacies that I want to leave behind, I want military medics on every level to be able to transfer their skill set that they learned from the military and bring it to the civilian side, because that's ultimately where the civilian sector gets its protocols from. It comes from the military. TC3 invented tactical combat casualty care, and we carry that over into the civilian sector. So now in the world of evidence-based medicine, where most of your evidence is coming from the military, this way, you don't put your civilian population at risk for being test subjects on experimental, what if we tried this? Maybe it'd work. In a military setting, it's completely valid. Having the people who set forth the standard not be able to transfer their skills over easily is probably one of my bigger things that I want to attack, which is why I want to start this with Megan, start this bridge program. I'm actually the first test subject for it this semester coming up, so we'll see how it goes with me, and then if it goes well, then we can push it out to everybody else. Another legacy of mine is if I have a kid, or if my niece or nephew come up to me and they be like, oh, I want to do EMS, I don't want to steer them away from it because of not being taken care of properly. I think we all deserve a certain amount of free therapists, every year. A good supportive background and a good financial stability. Everyone before us has gone through even worse situations, and I just want to be able to tell them, you should do this job because it's going to help you, without the caveat of you're going to have to give a piece of yourself in order to keep doing this job. That's probably one of my biggest legacies to leave behind.